Anna had never liked hospitals. She always felt too small, too seen, when she walked into places where people wore white coats and asked private questions. That morning, she stood in front of the clinic building, her heart thudding harder than it should. She wasn't sick. She wasn't even in pain. She just knew it was time. Her best friend had reminded her again and again. Every woman should visit a gynecologist, even when nothing seemed wrong. But Anna had waited. She had delayed. She had always found a reason to cancel the appointment. This time, she had told herself she wouldn't. She had even circled the date in red on her calendar. Now, standing in the pale morning light, she wished she could turn back. She wanted to run, but she stayed. She gripped her bag tighter. She whispered to herself, "Just go inside. It will be fine." She opened the door. Inside, the clinic was warmer than she expected. The air smelled faintly of lavender, like someone had tried to make the place less frightening. A receptionist looked up with a polite smile and asked for her name. Anna's voice came out soft, almost too soft, but the woman heard. Soon, Anna was told to wait. She sat in the farthest corner, pressing her bag against her knees. Other women waited quietly, some reading magazines, some scrolling through their phones. Anna didn't dare to do either. She just sat still, wishing time would hurry. She tried not to think about the questions the doctor might ask. She tried not to think about being examined. Her palms were damp. She reminded herself, this was normal. Every woman did this, yet her heart refused to calm down. She watched the second hand of the clock move in steady clicks, each one making her chest feel tighter. After what felt like hours but was only minutes, a nurse in light blue scrubs called Anna's name. Anna rose, legs shaky, and followed her down a long hallway. Each step echoed in her ears. She wanted to look calm, but she felt exposed, like everyone could see her fear. The nurse spoke kindly, explaining which room she would enter, and reminded her to relax. Anna nodded, though she could not. When they stopped at the door, the nurse gave her another smile, then left her to walk in alone. Anna stood still for a moment, breathing slowly. Her thoughts spun. She wondered what the doctor would be like. She imagined an older woman, maybe gentle, maybe strict. She hoped for kind eyes, someone who would not rush her. Finally, with her heart racing, she opened the door. The room was bright and calm, not as cold as she expected. But what caught her breath was not the room. It was the doctor. He was not the older woman she had imagined. He was young, very young, maybe only a few years older than she was. His dark hair was neat, his white coat crisp, and his eyes steady but kind. For a moment, Anna just stood frozen in the doorway, unsure if she had entered the right room. The doctor rose politely, smiled, and said, "You must be Anna, please. Have a seat." His voice was calm, low, almost reassuring. Still, Anna's stomach turned. A young man, a male gynecologist. She had never thought about this. She hesitated, but her feet moved forward, carrying her to the chair. She sat, clutching her bag, eyes fixed on the desk. The doctor introduced himself as Dr. Daniel Hayes. His tone was professional, yet gentle, not rushed. "Don't worry," he said softly. "We'll just talk first." Anna nodded, though her throat felt tight. She avoided his eyes, staring at the edge of the desk instead. He asked simple questions about her health, her cycle, her concerns. His words were careful, never intrusive, but still, Anna's cheeks grew warm. She answered in short sentences, her voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Hayes noticed, but he did not push. He gave her time, letting the silence stretch when she needed it. Gradually, Anna's breathing steadied. She realized he was not judging her. He was listening, truly listening. For the first time that morning, a thin thread of relief touched her chest. She thought, maybe she could get through this after all. Dr. Hayes asked if she had any worries, any discomfort, any questions she had put off. Anna hesitated, fingers tightening on her bag strap. She had questions, but saying them aloud felt impossible. Finally, she whispered about irregular days, about sharp cramps that sometimes left her curled in bed. She thought her words sounded clumsy, too small, but the doctor listened carefully, nodding at each one. He explained in clear, simple language. He did not make it sound frightening. He said her body was not failing. It was just something to check and manage. The way he spoke, steady and calm, chipped away at her fear. Anna felt her shoulders loosen a little. She even dared to lift her eyes and glance at him. He looked professional, but also human, not distant like she had expected. That helped. It made the room feel less heavy. When it was time for the checkup, Dr. Hayes explained what would happen. His words were careful, respectful, and steady. Anna listened, her nerves rising again. Her body stiffened, and her throat felt dry. She wanted to leave, to run from the room, but the doctor's calm tone kept her rooted. He reminded her that she could stop at any time, that she was in control. That simple sentence surprised her. No one had ever put it like that before. Slowly, Anna rose to her feet. Her steps toward the examination chair felt heavy. She carried her bag as though it could protect her, then placed it down gently. She reminded herself, this was her choice. She whispered inside her head, "You can do this." The chair felt cold beneath her. Anna clasped her hands in her lap, her fingers squeezing each other hard. Dr. Hayes put on gloves with a quiet snap, then stepped back, not rushing, not crowding her. He explained each step before moving forward, giving her space to nod. His voice stayed even, almost gentle. "You're doing fine," he said. She swallowed hard, her chest tight. She had imagined this would feel unbearable. And yes, it was uncomfortable, but not in the way she feared. The difference was his patience. He never moved faster than she could handle. He reminded her to breathe, to relax her shoulders. Slowly, the tension in her body eased. She realized she could get through this without breaking. Her face burned, but her fear no longer felt like a storm. Minutes later, it was over. Anna had expected it to feel endless, but it hadn't. She sat back, her shoulders sagging with relief. Dr. Hayes removed his gloves, disposed of them, and washed his hands calmly. He turned back to her with a light smile, one that was professional yet kind. "You did very well," he said. Anna lowered her gaze, cheeks still warm, but she felt a small sense of pride. She had faced something she had avoided for years. The doctor spoke again, explaining what he had observed, how everything looked healthy, and what simple steps could help with her cramps. His words were steady, never rushed. For the first time that day, Anna felt a wave of calm wash over her. She breathed out slowly, as if she had been holding her breath since she arrived. They returned to the desk. Anna sat with her bag again, but this time her posture was different. She was still shy, but less guarded. Dr. Hayes wrote in her file, then turned to her, explaining what came next. He gave her advice for self-care, simple habits she could follow. He even suggested ways to ease her cramps without heavy medication. Each point was clear, easy to understand. Anna listened closely, nodding. The weight in her chest had lifted. She no longer felt like a frightened girl sitting in a strange place. She felt like someone who had taken a step, a real step, toward caring for herself. She realized the doctor had guided her through something she thought she could not face, and he had done it without judgment, only patience. That thought stayed with her, warming her as she prepared to leave. Anna rose slowly, holding her bag close. She thanked Dr. Hayes in a voice that was still quiet but steadier than before. He smiled, nodded, and told her to return if she had any concerns. His tone was not just professional, it was sincere. She believed him. She had expected to walk out of the clinic feeling embarrassed, maybe even ashamed. Instead, she felt lighter. Her steps were still cautious, but they carried a new sense of strength. She had faced something that once terrified her, and she had not fallen apart. She thought about the doctor's patience, about how young he looked, and how surprising it had been to find him there. Something about him stayed in her mind. She wondered who he was outside the clinic. She shook the thought away, reminding herself this was just a doctor's visit. Still, curiosity lingered quietly inside her. Days passed. Life slipped back into its usual rhythm. Anna went shopping, studied, and tried not to think too much about that morning. But one afternoon, while wandering through a bookstore, she stopped suddenly. A magazine on the rack caught her eye. The cover showed a face she recognized instantly, Dr. Daniel Hayes. He was not in a white coat this time, but in a dark suit, standing tall beside a large hospital building. The headline called him one of the youngest millionaire doctors in the country, known for investing in women's health clinics and expanding care to underserved areas. Anna's mouth parted in shock. She held the magazine closer, reading quickly. He wasn't just a young doctor, he was a young millionaire, shaping the future of medicine. She remembered his calm voice, his kind patience, and now saw him in a new light. It felt unreal. That evening, Anna sat by her small desk, the magazine spread open beside her. Outside, the city lights glimmered faintly. She thought about Dr. Hayes, not as the man on the glossy page, but as the doctor who had spoken gently to her, who had let silence sit so she could gather courage, who had told her she was in control. The article praised his success, his investments, his vision, but Anna remembered something simpler. She remembered the steady way he had looked at her without judgment, and how that had made her feel seen. For someone so shy, that memory was powerful. She leaned back in her chair, realizing she was smiling without meaning to. For the first time in a long while, she felt proud of herself. The next week, Anna found herself walking past the clinic again. She did not have an appointment, yet her steps slowed as she looked at the glass doors. She remembered how terrified she had been that first morning, standing frozen outside. Now, the memory seemed distant, almost strange. She stood taller, her bag loose at her side. She realized something had changed in her. It was not just about the doctor or his unexpected fame. It was about her. She had faced her fear. She had walked into that place alone and come out stronger. The shy girl who once avoided such things was still shy, but not powerless. She smiled faintly at the doors before continuing on her way, the morning light warm on her face. One evening, Anna sat in a quiet park, the sun setting low and golden. She opened a small notebook and began to write. She wrote about fear, about patience, about the way someone's kindness could change the shape of a day. She wrote about courage, not loud or bold, but quiet, the kind that grows slowly inside you when you least expect it. She thought of Dr. Hayes, the young millionaire doctor, and smiled softly. His world seemed far from hers, yet for one morning, their paths had crossed. And in that crossing, she had learned something important. Courage was not the absence of fear. It was stepping forward even when fear tried to hold you back. Anna closed her notebook, the pages filled with her careful words. She sat still, breathing in the cool evening air, knowing she was no longer the same girl who once stood frozen outside a clinic. She was stronger now, and she carried that strength quietly, deep inside her.